Hello, everybody. How are you doing? My name is Bernard Hill. Wanted to give you a quick update on what's been going on since you've been away for a couple of months. I know you know, as I do, a lot has changed in your time away. So much so that I'm talking to you right now while I'm in my son's bedroom closet. So here's a brief update. We've been in a lot of meetings and we've been working in those meetings with a lot of intensity. There's been a lot of conversations, a lot of dialogue about how we can prepare. And the funny part of that is that we've been doing all of this while working remotely for the most part. We've started to return back to work, come back into the office some, working to ensure that when you return, it's very safe and you'll have a great experience when you're here. But doing all of that has required us to transform. So we've had to transform the way that we've historically done some things, and we will continue to transform the way that things are being done on campus. And hopefully when you arrive, you'll be able to spot it. You'll be able to see the things that are different and how we've worked to create change, and hopefully know that what our ultimate goal is that we can bounce back from this experience to try to create the best opportunity for all of our employees, faculty, staff, and students to have the success that we desire. I know you probably think right now, why is he talking about all of this stuff? Because in your minds, August probably seems so far away. But I assure you, it's closer than you can imagine. It's only weeks away. And so we just can't wait for you to return. So much so that I want you to know that while you've been gone, we have been going bananas. Not figuratively going bananas. I mean literally going bananas. So please come back soon. We miss you so much. I know there's been a lot going on and a lot for you to take in and try to figure out. And so to that end, what I want you to understand is this. We're all more alike than we are different. And so we have to really learn to respect the differences that we each have, just like Mr. Clean and I. We're still both very much the same. And so I hope that you all know that we're thinking about you, and that most importantly, that it's our job while we're here to think about our walk as we try to embody the Christ-like experience as we grow as Christian men and women. And so most importantly, we want to do that, continue our love for Jesus, our love for God, continue what we do. Miss you all so very much. Can't wait for you to return. Thanks for being a Point Skyhawk. Go Skyhawks. Love you all. Take care. Have a great day.
Now, only a few of you know where I'm standing. If you've been at Point University long, you know that we use Spring Road Christian Church as our chapel venue. I'm outside the back door that some of you have tried to sneak in before and sometimes found this locked because we want you to come in the front door and see your friends. But I'm here because it's kind of a cool spot to welcome you to chapel tonight. So you might have noticed earlier today, Point University made an announcement. It involves our chapel speaker tonight, Leonard Phillips. Leonard has been named as Point University's Chief Diversity Officer. And tonight he's going to bring a special message from the book of Esther. He's going to talk to us about special moments. There's a famous passage in the Esther story that uses the words "for such a time as this." Leonard's message tonight suggests that this is a special moment in history, and that we as Christians need to speak into certain topics. I won't preach his message for him, but I want you to pay close attention. Before Leonard comes to speak to us tonight, one of our alums, Garrett Moats, is going to prepare us to receive that message. Listen carefully to this old hymn. Allow God to soften your heart and prepare you to hear the word of the Lord from Leonard Phillips tonight. Thank you.
Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming by thy help I come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus sought me when a stranger, wandering from the fold of God, he to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness, like the fetter, bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, Lord, take and seal it for thy courts above. Come thou fount of every blessing, to my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love.
When I travel and stay at hotels, I typically don't unpack all of my clothes and take all of the items out of my suitcase. I may hang up my shirts and slacks, but typically I live out of my suitcase. I don't waste time identifying a sock drawer or a t-shirt drawer or putting all of my clothes in the drawers, because it's a waste of time, especially when I know that I'm not planning to live in the hotel. I'll enjoy the hotel and all the amenities, but I never really get comfortable at a hotel because I know in a couple of days I'm headed home to my own bed. Oftentimes as believers, as children of God, as the King's kid, as those that have been called and set apart for such a time as this, oftentimes we get so absorbed with what's going on at the hotel that we unpack our bags and lose sight of home. The world is not our home. Heaven is our home. And we have to be careful not to waste time getting comfortable at the hotel. In the book of Esther, many are surprised to learn that the name of God is not even mentioned. But let me remind you that just because God is not mentioned does not mean that God does not matter. Perhaps you, like me, have been in many conversations, and it can be exhausting. Coronavirus, pandemics, closing, openings, spikes, Black Lives Matter, police brutality, white privilege, all lives matter, rallies, peaceful protests, riots, resignations. And just because God is not mentioned does not mean that God does not matter. I am in no way suggesting that these matters don't matter, because as a Black man, Black lives do matter, period. I was encouraged by a group of peaceful protesters made of reds and yellows, black and whites, holding banners that read, Black Lives Matter, and in God we trust. Can we all just breathe for a moment? And even though these problems in our society can be exhausting, God will use you for such a time as this to bring about the change that needs to be seen in the world. As a Christian, the thing that matters most is God. The book of Esther is really about genocide, about how God used two Jews, Esther and her cousin Mordecai, who was like a father to her, to risk everything to save their people. Esther, she becomes queen after King Ahasuerus disposes of his wife after she disobeys him at a banquet. Really? Under the guidance of her cousin Mordecai, Esther keeps her Jewish descent a secret. One day, Mordecai is sitting at the king's gate and finds out about a plot to assassinate the king. So Mordecai tells Esther, who in turn reported it to the king, and tells the king that Mordecai deserves the credit. After the men who planned to assassinate the king were executed, a man named Haman was promoted to vice king, or second in charge. All the royals, including Mordecai, were commanded to bow down and pay homage to Haman, but Mordecai the Jew, he refused to bow. Haman was filled with anger and pledged to kill all the Jews because Mordecai refused to bow down to him. I'm telling you, it's better than a Netflix original. Long story short, Mordecai gets word to Esther that she must help her people. Esther had gotten accustomed to palace living. She was now a rich Jew. She wasn't like the other Jews, but she was an upper class Jew. And Mordecai reminds her, upper or lower, rich or poor, that she was still a Jew, and hateful Haman wanted to eliminate all Jews. We find the theme of Esther summarized in Esther's conversation with Mordecai in chapter 4. Mordecai says to Esther, "For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will perish. And who knows whether you have not attained royalty for such a time as this." You can find that in Esther 4, 14th verse. Can I paraphrase that for you? Mordecai was saying, girl, I don't care how beautiful you are. It's time for you to use your brains and your mouth and tell the king about hateful Haman, or else we all will die as Jews. Mordecai essentially was saying to Esther, your time has come. Sometimes we miss kingdom opportunities because we fail to realize that the only reason we are where we are and we have what we have is because of God. God made Esther beautiful. That's preparation. God chose her for queen. That's purpose. God gave her the position of influence. That's a plan. It was God, and even though his name is not mentioned, you can see God's movement. He prepared Esther. He purposed Esther, and he had a plan for Esther's life. Now in the book of Esther, it's the moment of truth. We come to chapter 4 and 5. This is where the rubber meets the road. What will Esther do? Will she ignore the preparation, the purpose, and the plan for her life and remain silent about hateful Haman's plan to kill all Jews? Or will she embrace the preparation, the purpose, and the plan for her life and use her influence to help others? Esther says to Mordecai, I will go into the king. Can I tell you that's what God wants to hear? I will. I will go into the king, which is not according to the law. Even as queen, Esther couldn't just go into the king. She had to be summoned. And if the king did not extend his golden scepter, then she could be put to death. And Esther says, I will go into the king. And if I perish, I perish. I've discovered from Old Testament to New Testament that God doesn't just bless you for you. God blesses you so that the blessing can flow through you. Her position of queen was not just for her. Her position was for the people. And that's the problem I have with many of our political leaders. They think their position is about them and not the people. But I digress. Let me share this with you. Your time comes when you undergo God's preparation for your life. Your time comes when you undergo God's preparation for your life. Your preparation may not look like my preparation, and my preparation may not look like yours, but know that your time comes when God has prepared you. Abraham was being prepared as the father of many nations. That's what we call him, Father Abraham. He was being prepared as the father of many nations as he traveled from nation to nation. Moses was being prepared as a great leader as he stuttered through his communication. And even in Esther, Mordecai was being prepared to save the Jews, even as he saved the king from assassination. Don't underestimate preparation. Preparation for you may be 60 hours getting your associate's degree. Preparation for someone else, 120 hours getting their bachelor's degree, or 150 hours obtaining that master's degree. Your time comes when you undergo God's preparation for your life, but also when you understand God's purpose for your life. God has a unique reason for creating you. God has what I like to call creator's rights, which simply means because he created us, he gets to assign our purpose and tell us what to do. In my house, my toaster toasts. My refrigerator refrigerates. And my microwave, that's right, it microwaves. When it's time for the toaster to toast, it doesn't argue. When it's time for the microwave to microwave, it says, how long? The stove doesn't try to refrigerate and the toaster doesn't try to microwave. Why? Because they have their own purpose. And lastly, your time comes when you undertake God's plan for your life. God reminds us that as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are his ways higher than our ways and his thoughts than our thoughts. His word that goes out from his mouth, it will not return to him empty, but will accomplish what he desires and achieve the purpose for which he sent him. You have to understand, if you won't, God will. If you don't, God does. And if you say, I can't, God can. God never limits himself to one way or one person. Mordecai tells Esther, if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from the Jews from another place. God will providentially arrange for your preparation, purpose, and plan to intersect with the problem that results in him getting glory. He'll providentially do it. When you undergo God's preparation for your life, when you understand God's purpose for your life, and when you undertake God's plan for your life, can I suggest to you, your time has come. If you stick your finger in a glass of water and then pull it out, you may be surprised to see that the place where you put your finger, it will quickly fill in. Your finger may make an impression in the water momentarily, but as soon as you remove your finger, the water fills right in. Life is like that, in that we are here on earth for a moment. The impact and impression that we make is only for a moment, and then time fills right in. Who knows what great opportunity awaits you? For many of us, now may be the most critical time in our lives because it's preparation time. I know that there are a lot of unprecedented events taking place in our lives right now, and it may feel like God has you enrolled in two universities, Point University and the University of Adversity. And whether your desire is for church and chaplaincy, information technology, health sciences, business and leadership, education, or perhaps social and behavioral reform, please know that God is preparing you for such a time as this. God bless you.
Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus, just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, and to know thus saith the Lord. Jesus, Jesus, how I trust him, how I've proved him more and more. Jesus, Jesus, precious Jesus, oh, for grace to trust him more. I'm so glad I learned to trust him, precious Jesus, Savior and friend. And I know that he is with me, will be with me to the end. Jesus, Jesus, how
Thank you so much for being a part of this chapel service tonight. I would love it if we could be together face to face, but we can't do that right now. And we've never done chapel in the summer before. So this is kind of a unique and I think very healthy and good experience for us as a Point community. We can at least know through this virtual get together that the Point community still exists. And we can look forward to the day when the Point community can be back together face to face. When I started thinking about this service, I reminded myself of an important question that I try to ask myself at night when I'm getting ready to go to bed. What if this is the day that God had in mind for me when I was born? Quite frankly, some days when I go to bed and ask that question, I think, I hope this wasn't the day, because if it were the day, God didn't have a very good plan for me. And then some days I think, wow, this could very well have been the day God had in mind for me. And so I asked my good friend Leonard Phillips to talk about the Esther story. And Leonard did a marvelous job of doing that. And if you remember, he talked about preparation, plan, purpose, and plan. For most of our students, the key word in that little list of words, I suspect, is preparation. What is God doing in your life right now to prepare you for the purpose for which He made you, so that you can see a plan to accomplish God's will in your life? We're living in really, really difficult times right now. From the pandemic and all of the complications that issue has created for us, to the incredibly tense tension that is in our culture right now over race and justice and fairness and mercy and, quite frankly, righteousness. And you and I, as kingdom people, have the potential to answer that question that Mordecai posed to Esther and declare this is the time that God had in mind. And perhaps we will be the people who once and for all dealt with this issue in a Christ-like way in our culture. I heard a friend of mine say the other day, a person old enough to have been through the routine of how we deal with justice issues in America more than once. And that person said, you know, this feels like maybe this is the time. And I hope you will kind of take that statement into your heart and think, man, perhaps this is the time that God is going to help His people bring about a renewed sense of justice and fairness in our culture. Thanks for being a part of chapel tonight. Thanks for being a part of the Point community. We're all looking forward to seeing you back on campus soon, and it'll be different, but it will be back, and we look forward to that. God bless you, and good night.